Welcome back to our 5th Google Hangout. Thanks very much for joining me this time around. What I want to speak to you about today is health and you, and in particular health and you and inflammatory foods or inflammation within the body. So let's get started here. The reason I actually I wanted to address this topic is because I was looking at a few people around me in my life that I'm aware of and thinking about how the nutritional supplements have not been able to make a huge difference to them, and why would that be? And then working through this idea of inflammation and inflammatory foods and the causes of that, and how longer term it has big implications, but even in the short term it can also affect your health as well. So this is why I'm presenting this topic to you today, basically so that you can look at it in terms of what's happening for yourself and make an assessment. So here we go. So usual presentation. Let's get started. And basically, as I said, health and you, inflammation or inflammatory foods. So what we're going to cover is what is inflammation and what are the effects, which foods cause inflammation. 80% of the Western diet is inflammatory. Anti-inflammatory foods, oily fish, green vegetables, fruits, grains, non-GMO of course, and the role of nutritional supplementation. So, what is inflammation and what are the effects? So, inflammation is the body's first response of the immune system to an infection or irritation, whether from your diet, lifestyle or environment. Think of this in terms of if you caught a cold, or when you catch a cold, you experience inflammation in the form of a fever within your body. And to eradicate that, the body initiates white blood cells and initiates an attack against the invading virus. So inflammation, longer term, in terms of food, can cause has a common link to debilitating conditions such as Alzheimer's, heart disease, cancer, arthritis. And so it's quite a big issue that people are starting to see the effects of, but not realising this link between them. So you can see cardiovascular disease, diabetic complications, chronic inflammation, bone and muscular and skeletal disease, cancer, metabolic diseases, and neurological diseases as well. So much of the misery of the age-related conditions, says in life extensions, such as cardiovascular disease, diabetes, chronic, even cancer, can be laid at the feet of inflammatory processes. So which foods cause inflammation? Sugar, omega-6, trans fats, chemical flavours and colours, dairy, gluten, sodas and alcohol. All of these foods come together to cause inflammation within your body. So you may recall from previous presentation that in fact 80% of our diet, the Western diet, is made up of processed foods and red meats. And so what we're missing out on is a lot of the greens and the fruits that are antioxidants, but are also turning out now to be non-inflammatory foods. So it's important that we change the diet that we're actually looking at in terms of what the Western diet really is and how we're actually taking advantage of the foods that we eat to change our health. So processed foods, manufactured foods, GMOs, whoops, sorry about that, farm fish and high meat diets are big problems. So what are anti-inflammatory foods? Anti-inflammatory foods, really the greens, fish, nuts, fruits. So you can see that Dr. Wheel created this food pyramid, and at the top he's got my favourite, which is chocolate. But you see this is actually set out in order of how many of those foods you should have on a weekly or daily basis. And so you can have as much fruit and veggie as you want, and somewhere in the middle you've got fish, fish and seafood. Up the top end we've got red wine and chocolate. So if you think back to the previous presentation, how we had the low-risk Eastern diet, which involves a big percentage of fruit and veg and fish in the diet. And this sort of diet, not only is it great for its risk of disease, but that's partly because it's a low inflammatory diet. It's a low GI diet. It's just a great all-round diet. So what's the role of quality nutritional supplements in fighting against inflammation? So magnesium, vitamins B6, C, D and E are all vital parts of fighting against inflammation, so anti-inflammatories. Fish oil, and as well as multivitamin mineral supplements. So there's a lot more goes into this whole study of inflammation, and you can check out that source documents there to find out more. So inflammation can cause major diseases. It starts out as being something where the body starts to attack the cells that are introduced through the food. The Western diet is really around those inflammatory foods, so we need to change our diet to be more wild-caught oily fish, and that should say caught, not cow, green vegetables, fruits and grains, and of course non-GMO or specific organic. And the role of quality nutritional supplements is to really support the body through this process of removing inflammation. So, again, as always, like us on Facebook. Health and Lifestyle is the page to look out for. But if you have any questions around this, please don't hesitate to contact me, and we can talk a little bit further on this subject. Because I have brushed over it today, but it's really, as you see, the impact of inflammation in your body can be so major that it's just, it can be devastating longer term. So thanks for joining me, and all the best to you in good health until we meet again. Look forward to speaking with you in the future, and look forward to sharing another instalment. Next time I'm going to talk on the subject of GI, so low glycemic index foods. So I hope you join me then, and until then, good health to you.